Well, the whole subject of the debate was who's most important, broadcasting, press or social media, and I think the consensus was actually you can't really answer that question because they're all interlinked in some way, they feed off each other. I still think broadcasting is the predominant medium that most people get their current affairs input, news from radio and television, and I think that will probably continue for some time to come. But of course television and radio feed off newspapers, they feed off social media as well, so that's where the interlinking comes in.
I thought what was interesting were kind of 2 points. One was how rapidly moving the technology and fashions are, the emphasis on Twitter, and also the point that some traditional blogs, which appeared terribly novel 5 years ago, are now in decline. Someone like Ian Dale, who's a busy man as a publisher and broadcaster, is no longer doing a conventional blog, and he pointed out a dozen other people have given up blogging. And I thought that was interesting, to be replaced by Twitter, and the sense of both the dangers and the attractions of Twitter was very central. The second point which came through was it's very dangerous to regard one media as dominant. They all interact with each other. That people are commenting what's in the press or what's been said on a television broadcast, let's say a Jon Snow interview, will then Twitter about it and refer to it.
I think there was a fair bit of agreement there is a certain feeding frenzy where the social media and the conventional media are feeding off each other. The broadcast media and social media bring incredible immediacy, and in my opinion, that means that newspapers are becoming the squeezed middle, that they are losing their influence. They haven't got a business model that's actually going to succeed for them. And certain things that used to be great stalwarts of the newspapers, like a good scoop, is losing their commercial value because they're immediately tweeted, they're immediately online, and nobody can really get a commercial benefit out of them.
Now the question is, how do you make money out of it? The Financial Times, which is admittedly a specialist publication, charges and works that model very well because it's got a particular market niche. The Times, which I used to work for, has introduced a firewall since I left. Now the problem there isn't just why do people want to pay for that when they can get other things free, and that's obviously a fundamental commercial dilemma. But the other problem is that it's very difficult to break news on it when you're not sure that everyone's going to follow it. Everyone's going to follow it on if it's the Guardian or the Independent or the Telegraph or the Mail, which is the most successful newspaper site, because it's free. And whether that's sustainable long term, but certainly there is a sense for journalists of, well, if I break it behind the firewall, will anyone notice? And I think that's quite a dilemma for people trying to make money out of the internet.
I think social media is having a massive impact on the news agenda and a massive impact on the whole political process, on elections, on the way government conducts itself. But it's changed over the years. You've got many fewer individualistic bloggers because the mainstream media has kind of taken over blogging. 3 or 4 years ago, newspapers decided that blogging was not about people, rather sad people, sitting in their bedrooms in their pyjamas typing away at their keyboards because they've got nothing better to do. They actually instructed a lot of their journalists to take up blogging. And that's meant that they've eaten up some of the individual blogs. I mean, I got offers from the Telegraph, from the Spectator, from the Times to take my blog onto their platforms. I decided not to for a variety of reasons, but a lot of people did. And you haven't got the unique blogging personalities to the extent that maybe you used to. In a way, that was probably inevitable. But Twitter has also taken over from blogging, I suppose, as the most spontaneous form of social media. Virtually every journalist is now on Twitter. They started probably just to follow other people, but now they tweet themselves. And it is a bit incestuous. I mean, a lot of the Westminster lobby journalists seem to just tweet each other for no apparent reason, talk about football. But it is a great medium. If there's a breaking news story, Twitter is the place to be now. It's actually usurped the 24-hour news channels in a way, and the news channels feed off Twitter. When there's a breaking story doing my radio show each evening, I will have Twitter open and I'll have a Sky News screen on, but I'm actually following what's going on Twitter, and I'll follow the Guardian or the Telegraph live blogs, and I use that to feed information into my phone in. Now that wouldn't have happened even a year, 2 years ago. So Twitter has been a tremendous development.
social media presents a fantastic opportunity for businesses to actually connect with their customers in a way that they can't through other channels. But they've got to be careful how they use it. You can't have a businessman blogging because he has to. They have to actually want to do it. They have to want to engage and have something to say. And if they've got something to say and it is real, then it will come through. If they're told they have to write a blog, otherwise they get their bonus removed, then it will come over as flat. And if they get somebody else to write it, then it will come over as flat. They've got to do it in a real passionate way. There was a lot of interesting debate. There was a very interesting question about local media and what will be influential, whether the people are caring anything about local media. And I think that there's an interesting element of how social media can work locally and how conventional media should be embracing new digital channels to actually deliver for local people. But as I think it was John Snow pointed out, the fact that local media is reflecting the fact that local politics doesn't have any influence, and the government UK is very London-centric, probably is reflected in what is said in the local media. I think e-petitions are a function of what happens in social media, which is the shrillest voices are most easily heard and the majority is often silent. So you can get into a problem where you view that what you see online is actually what is the reflection of society. If you have an e-petition of 10 or 100, even 100,000 people, it can easily be skewed by a lobby group or people who are genuinely passionate about that area, and they will not necessarily reflect the majority opinion. So the threshold has to be high, and I don't think if you're going to get the threshold high enough to make them representative, you're actually going to get enough engagement on e-petitions. So that's why I actually say e-petitions are online graffiti, because what they're actually saying is we can make a noise, but we're actually not reflecting what is the actual opinion.